Alright, so we got this kit here. What we're concerned with right now is these accumulator valves. Keepers. This valve that goes in the accumulator body. This forward valve that goes in the main valve body. I'm not concerned with that. I'm not concerned with any of this right now. Or this. They used to give an ID mark on these. Now they made all three the same. They used to have ID mark on 2 and not on 1. So now they're not distinguishing between them. So helps to have a pair of long needle nose, a couple scribes with different ends on them. One of your valve body bolts. I got some that I just cut the heads off of that I use for line-up bolts. I just use those. And a paper clip with a end bent on it, something like that. Allows you to get down in here, pull that clip out. That off. Small pocket screwdriver helps too. Unblock that hole when you pull this clip up because the spring's going to pop out. Yep, there it is. And if you get your scribe back here, kind of start pushing the valve out. Just enough to where you can get the needle nose on them, and you can pull that valve out. And pull that valve out. Blow the bore out. And then Sonex makes a bore sizing tool. I don't know if I can see it on here. I got it in here. 36948-12. what you're going to do is you're going to take this bore sizing tool, you're just going to shove it in the hole until it bottoms out. And this one's pretty snug. I haven't never had one quite that snug. May have to use the slide hammer on this one. I've never had to do that before. Out here. I can work on it a little. Bottom it out. Alright, and blow those chips out if there's any in there. This up. See if we got any easier. Doesn't seem like it. Maybe a little. Blow that out again. I may have to do this several times. Like I said, I've never had one that I've had to use a slide hammer on. It does have a spot for it. Usually you can get these in there by hand and you just keep working it around until it loosens up. Never had one that's tight. Somebody's been into this unit. And they did some things I'm kind of concerned about. One of them is in the back of the case. I had to use a air chisel to get the rear sprag race out. I couldn't even get them out with a 1/2 inch impact. There's no reason for them to be that tight. I did put a bushing kit in it. concerned about the back end of the case back there. They had all the snap rings in the wrong orientation. Which is not a huge deal, but still. You would think that they would have put the spiral snap ring on the center support, but they didn't. The snap ring had popped off. Let's see if they even put the gasket on the center support. When we get to it. And keep doing this until it gets at least where I can put this in by hand. This kind of concerns me too. I've never had one this tight. Call this one good. Let's see how the valve does. I can almost get it all the way down. Getting kind of hard to grip it when it gets down there. See how the valve does. A little bit of lube. And dropped right in, so I think we're gonna call it good. We're gonna put our little spring back on top. On there, this tool also helps you push that spring back so that you can get this keeper in. I need one of these. They give you these little washers in here to adjust the shift fill. I have never used any of those. And you can put that keeper on there just like that. It's going to face out. Push that in enough, just enough to get the clip in it. And you got to line the slot up with the little tip of the tool. Once it starts, look down inside it, make sure that your spring is not getting caught. And a long skinny screwdriver is kind of helpful too. You can get down in there and you can maneuver that spring around. sure it's not caught on anything. Just push the keeper all the way down and make sure your springs are, kind of centered in the bore. Alright, then we put our accumulator back in. And since we had a blue spring, I believe it says we replace it with the yellow. Yeah, replace it with the yellow. And then a red and a plain, and they're gonna all go inside of each other like so. Now sometimes you need to be careful doing this. Sometimes people complain about the shifts, especially once you put the this valve in here, this line valve, especially if you change the size of that, because it's going to shift pretty firm. And I've had a lot of people come back complaining they don't like the shifts, a little too firm for them. So you might want to leave just a single spring in there. This one here, we're going to try it out, see what's what. This is easy to change because you just got to drop the pan and pull the front accumulator body off, and you can change, just take the springs out and go back to a single spring, and it should be fine. Alright, with the white spring, we're going to use a green spring. Let's see if this one is any easier for the bore tool. I know the valve came out much easier. Almost fell all the way out. On there. Now that's what they normally do. Maybe a little bit tighter than that, but that's what they normally do. Just gonna work that around. That's nice and free right there. I like that a lot. So that's what they normally do. That other one was so dadgum tight. So we're putting the valve with the cupped end out. See, this spring's a little bit different than the other one's, a little bit shorter. Doing the same thing again, just going to face out. we had a white spring, we're going with a green spring, a red, and a plain. Alright, here we go. Last one here. Alright. Why are you being difficult? This one's pretty tight too. Let's see how tight this bore is. Still not as tight as that first one. It's pretty tight. Alright, I'm liking that pretty good. pistons, we got a blue spring again. We got a yellow, a red, and a plain. Through this, put my protector back on it. Flying on me. Alright, measure this land of this valve. Sometimes it can be a little cantankerous. Let's see if we can get it out with this. There we go. And see, it's pretty worn. And our valve is measuring 1 millimeters. Gotta get back out of that. $370 thousandths. And I bet you anything, this valve is 428, somewhere in there. When they first started making these kits, they were putting like a 475, something like that, in these kits, and I couldn't put them in there. This is okay. I couldn't put them in there because everybody was coming back complaining. I couldn't even put the springs in. I couldn't even put the valve in. And I was having to reuse the old one, and some of them are pretty worn out. So I kept talking with the guys from Sonax at the seminars, year after year after year, and complaining about it. And I guess finally enough people started complaining about it because they started putting the normal size valves in the kits. Helped out a whole lot. Alright. Let me throw all this stuff away. Now, let me do this one other thing. It's good to go now. This forward valve. Didn't used to get this. Actually, this one doesn't have it, so we can't put it in. If you have a valve that looks similar to this, and it's mostly on the 4R100s, there's a little spring that's in there that you stick in there and you put that clip on. So we don't need this one. I'm sure our spring is kind of centered. Oh, one other thing we got to do have to do. This is not in any of the kit instructions, but this is something that you can ensure that your unit's going to move. In fact, you can probably leave the overdrive sprag out after you do this, but I wouldn't do it. But in case the sprag fails, or you put it in backwards, your unit's going to work. Take that valve out, take the spring out. You can see where the coil comes back around. We're going to go right down below that. Cut that off right there. Put the spring with the cut side down. Put your valve back in. And put your keeper back on. And be careful when you're blowing it out. This keeper can fly out pretty easily. I think that's it for right now. We'll come back. Alright, on the pump here, there's a little check valve in here. This is what I use to get it out. It's a little sheet metal screw. Got a 3/8 head. I don't know what the diameter is here. 241 thousandths. But what I do is I just get it started. And once it starts turning, then I can get a screwdriver under it. Yeah.
Well, we have it up. You not want to do a pump.
And sometimes I can get 2 screwdrivers underneath there and pry it out. Other times I just keep turning it while I get a screwdriver under one side. Pry it out. And of course, it's wanting to be a snot today. Almost. So close. Usually once it's that far it just comes right out, so it's just because we got it on camera. It's wanting to be an ass. There we go. Replacing that. So blow out the bore really good. And then replacing it with the aluminum one. and they give you the orifice cut plug. What you're going to do is you're going to drive it down just below flush. It's barely below. And we're going to take a chisel and we're going to stake it in place. Just like so. Now we're going to take the PR valve out. See, it's pretty wore out too. Usually is. Okay, now we got a choice of what we're going to do here. Somebody's already been into this unit, and you can see right there they cross drilled for full-time lube. So either we got to plug that off, or we don't get to use this valve, because this valve that they give you is drilled for full-time lube. So probably what we're going to do at this point, I don't want to go through the hassle of plugging that off. I just don't have the time today. I'm just not going to replace the valve. But normally you would pull your old valve out, there's this little top hat washer. It would sit down on top like that. You shove that down in the bore. Give us a large pressure regulator spring that's going to go in, and your bumper spring that's normally in there. And our new PR, our boost valve, got 2 O-rings on it. They give you 3 in case you cut one. I've never cut one of these putting it in, but I guess you could do it. If this valve doesn't want to stay up in there, put some grease on the tip of it, keep it in there. make damn sure your snap ring is in that groove, because if it's not and it pops out of there, you're taking the tranny back apart. You're out of the vehicle and pulling the pump back out to get to that. Alright, they also have given you this valve. This is for the PWM pump. We don't have that since this is a E4OD, so we're not putting that in either. Let's see, make sure our valves are free. Alright, good to go there. Drive the bushing out the front. And drive it back in from the front. I don't want to create any burrs right there. And you can see right here on the seam of the bushing where it's put together, that cannot be in any of these openings here. You don't want it here, here, or here. So, we'll find out where it's at again. Right there. So, we're going to go about right there. I'm going to go press this in the arbor press. They used to sell the bushing that had ridges on it that would keep it from spinning. They also had a cutout for right here. So what I do is I'm going to take my die grinder, I'm going to get right there and I'm going to notch that bushing out. Yeah, I got all this silicone in here from where whoever this was that put it together. I hate when they do this, because it takes forever to get this crap out of there. And if you miss any little part of it, you're going to have a leak. I think I got it all, so here's what I did. Notched that out, took a round file, scraped off any little burrs there, and I'm going to stake that in place. It's not a bad idea if you got the new torque converter to go ahead and try it on the hub and make sure it fits okay. Alrighty, so some of the crap that this guy did. Go ahead and put some of this 3M weather strip adhesive on here. Your inner gear, doesn't matter how you put it. Just say inner. Your outer gear, doesn't matter how you put it. The inner gear dot goes up.
Hey, okay, I'll give you a check just to make you happy. So I can only get that pump from Wick, dealer end, and we gotta try it. She's on the line right now waiting for you. She needs a casting number off of it.
Alright. Dot goes up, this bevel goes down. Okay, so now we got this port here. Got this port right here. We're gonna line up our holes as best as we can. There's two threaded. There's one here, one here. And take your tail housing bolts, put one in each hole. Alright, and we got our line-up band. It's going to go on the outside of the pump. Alright, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of those. $10 millimeters. You don't need to crank the crap out of those. Just probably your normal about 10 foot-pounds, 12 foot-pounds, something like that. Two-tab washer. These tabs are going to fit in these holes. This bearing. Gonna sit like that. Take your little grease, put on your sealing rings, grooves. Our pump O-ring is going to go on the outside. Our sealing rings are going to sit like that, not like that. Take them, kind of give them a little tweak and help keep them in the groove. One on top, it's the same way. And take these bolts back out. Alright, forward drum. And we're going to try to figure out what he did here. I don't know why he had the pressure plate that he had. Not that you can't use it, but I just don't know why his clearance came out like that. I keep saying he. Well, it could have been a she, although I've never met a female rebuilder, but I'm sure there's some out there. I'm using Transgel Gold for the lip seals. This is a snap-on drawer lock tool that I use for the lip seals. Now you can use anything you want. You can use some of these kits have these lip wizards in them. You can use a feeler gauge, just whatever. Now we got this ring that's split. You want the split to be in between one of these areas. This is your bevel spring. Put your spring on that groove right there, dish down, and the opening right there. One of your flat snap rings for your drum. Pressure plate that normally comes in there. And he's using one of these that goes on the bottom here. So you got this plate, looks like that. You got your wavy plate, and you got a steel. You see the notched area. We want to keep those all lined up. These are your forward clutches, got the pointy teeth. Keeping our notched areas together. hot spots on your steels are not that big a deal, as long as they're not too bad. Now this is the pressure plate he had on there. And we could actually get another steel and a clutch in there, or we could just go with the thick pressure plate, which I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't know. We'll contemplate it. I may put an extra clutch in there. I just don't know yet. Clearance is pretty good. And if this bearing goes on the back. Your sealing rings here.
Get this one out, don't touch. Thanks, sir.
And just hook in like that. This bearing goes on top here. And we got our direct drum. And be very careful here that when you put these lip seals in, that you don't roll the lip over. It helps to have a scribe like that. And normally you have a lip seal. See how the lip is on the outside? This one here, you need the lip on the inside. The lip's going to face down. Okay, once you get it in there, get the scribe hooked underneath the lip right there. Just kind of run it around. Don't pull out, or you pull the lip seal right back out of the groove. Just making sure that it's not rolled. And then do the same thing for the inner lip seal. Now that inner one's the lip's on the outside. This one here is much easier to roll the lip. So just get up underneath it again. Make sure it's not rolled. Lots of lube. Yeah.
Is this the one that was incorrect? They sent you like an incorrect.
Yeah, check ball in here. Make sure it's nice and free. These little tips fit down in these grooves. The taper of our tips is going to be up. We got the notched area again. I'm going to put that so that this notch is in there. And we got these square cut teeth. Plate again. Another flat snap ring, wrong one. That's flat snap ring. Yeah, it's got a spot for a washer. If your sun shell has these tips on it, it does not take a washer here. And we got this 3-tab plastic washer. Our oil dam, our race, whatever you want to call it, our intermediate sprag, and our hub with another one of those lube washers on it. It's going to turn counterclockwise and a lot clockwise. Center support. Take these 3 bolts out. Now, a lot of times in the Sure Cure kit, they give you a paper washer. Like that one right there. They give you these shims to go underneath the planetaries. These shims only work with one style of planet. I don't like the paper gasket. In your rebuild kit, they should give you a metal one. Did not put that in there either, so not sure what this person used. But did some stuff and didn't do other stuff. So line your holes up, your 3 holes there. If you don't get those lined up, you're gonna not have certain gears. Might have no forward, no reverse, you might not have anything. So make sure your gasket's lined up. Sealing rings on the back here. This is the updated style. It's got the bearing inside of it. If you get one that hasn't been updated, I highly suggest you update it. It comes with this hub. It comes with this shaft, because the one that's not updated has a tip on it that rides inside a bushing in the output shaft. Give you have to pull the bushing out, and they'll give you this plug to put in the end of the output shaft to make sure that you get this in far enough that that plug doesn't come back out. Got this plastic washer with this tab. This tab fits right here. Overrun drum. This lip seal here is easy to roll also. That modification that we did in the valve body is going to keep this set of clutches here applied all the time. Lip facing up towards you. With this plate, the lip goes down on top of the piston. Get this bevel plate, our snap ring, taper the tips up. We're going to put the opening of the tips like right there. Now this is off of a CD4E forward sprag. You can use anything that you want. What you're wanting is to be able to push all these fingers down at the same time. So whatever you want to use. Let me go put this in and I'll be back. Alright, steel, clutch. Actually, leave this out. Getting a little bit ahead of myself. You can see the opening of our snap ring. This sun gear goes with this short end down. You got several different planetaries here. You got the aluminum, you got the steel one, and then you got the short steel one. The short steel one will have an input shaft up here on this end. It'll have an ID groove right about right there. So you'll know that this input shaft goes with that planet. This bearing goes on this planet right there. It goes in here. And there's different style washers that go here, depending on which one you have. One has a notch cut here. The other one has two tabs right here. We got the one with the two tabs, so it's going to go there. Our sprags are going to go with this little indented part facing up. The little snap ring also is facing up. I'll sit on there. Our snap ring going in. And when you put this on, it's going to turn counterclockwise and lock clockwise. Now we can put our clutches and steels in. It makes it easier to put that down without the clutches being in there. Pressure plate. Our snap ring. one of these bearings. It's right on top right there. The rear ring gear has another one of these bearings. Now, there's different rear planets. You got 6 pinion, you got 4 pinion, you got steel, you got aluminum. You got different style washers that it takes. Some have really big tabs, they'll be about that big. It'll have 3 instead of 4. So these small tabbed ones are what these washers will fit. So if you need to use these to make your end plate come out, they gave them to you. So you got one 4 tab that goes on the back, another one that goes on the front. You got different rear sprag setups. The predecessor to this was a spring and roller type, and it had a snap ring that went down here. Then your cage went in with your springs. You put your rollers in, and then there was a brass washer that set on top and another snap ring that goes here. Usually you're not going to get that as a replacement. You're going to get one of these, and all you got to do is take both snap rings and a washer and throw them away, and then put this one in there. You see how it's got these little feet? They're going to face up towards you. You're going to take it like this, just sitting this like that, and drop that in. You can give it a little turn where it doesn't come back out. That's our sprag race. I got 2 bolts I cut the heads off of. I use these to line up, because we got to line up this lube hole, and then we got to come in from the back side of the case. You'll see why we do this in a minute. I use those as line-up tools. Alright, just about ready to go through the case. Now you got different style lip seals that go back here. You got these flat rings, and then the later style will have a lip seal that goes in there and a lip seal that goes out here. These are earlier style, or the flat rings. I forget what year those came out, 96, 95, somewhere in there I think. Okay, do our center support, and I think we're ready to go on to the case. Our inner one, the lip faces out. Again, the inner one, the lip faces out. We're going to make sure our lip is not rolled. And it is. I think we grabbed the wrong one. That's why we're not looking right. Yeah, it's the right one. I don't know why it's not wanting to go in the groove properly. Alright, I think we're in there okay. Yeah. The outer one, the lip's going to face in. Alright. This is our piston. Our bevel is going to face the cone up. This is the snap ring that's normally on here. These always pop off, and this one is popped off and it spins around here. Say it causes a harsh force. In your shear cure kit, you're going to get a spiral snap ring. If you can get this to start, sometimes you can't. It's better to get it kind of started, but this one's not going to stay. So let me get my tool. I make tools for this. This is one of the first ones that ever came out for it. Don't remember where I bought it from. I think I got it from TranStar, which wasn't TranStar at the time. I think it was Axiom, or I don't know. They've had so many different names. Might have even been when it was still Repco. Man, that's a long time ago. Alright, so we got that. I'm going to start tightening this down. I can't go all the way because it's going to grab this snap ring and pinch it in between there. So I get it started, find the opening, get it around, and start working it around. Now, if you don't have this tool, I don't know what you're going to do. It is a pain, and getting this center support down into the case is a pain too. Just make sure this is all the way into the groove. When it gets in there, it's going to pop around that little tab that was on there. Keep it locked in. Now this tool does both functions of putting this piston in and of putting this in the case. So part of this, I need this, put that in the case. So this can go away. We're going to need this bar, this pusher, and 3 bolts. And there's a piston that goes here. seal goes to the outside, facing you. And this is going to go down on there. Find your feed hole right there. This is going to be somewhere in that area, right there. I'll get you close enough. It's going to go in there. Alright. I'm going to move the camera, change battery, and we're going to start stuffing this in the case. Alright, we'll see how this comes out. This may not work worth a crap. And lube up the inside here. Put our low reverse piston in. Our return spring. Now right down here, this spot right here is our lube hole. That's where that hole has to go. Alright, where's my bolts at? We got 5 of these bolts. For 7/16. Now the return spring is going to keep it pushed off of there. You're going to have to reach in there and push it back enough that you can start the bolts. Now whoever did this had this so tight even a 1/2 inch impact wouldn't take them off. And I ended up rounding off the heads, even with a brand new socket. I had to air chisel them out. They don't need to be that tight. Alright, a park actuator, your pin, your spring. This hook is going to go right around there. That's going to sit right there. And this thrust washer is going to sit right there. Yeah, let's pick a shorter one. There we go. Our park gear. and our output shaft. Okay, our sprag assembly is going to go in our rear ring gear. Then this snap ring with the taper of the tips pointing out towards us. Alright, we got our steel. Clutch. Now there's different clutches for different years. The later model ones, real late model ones, they have bigger teeth, which takes different sprag housing back there. Yeah, be careful with these teeth on here. They will cut the crap out of you. Okay, this right here goes at the 6 o'clock position. Okay, it says between the 12 and 3 o'clock position. Thinking of the 6L80 right now. It's at the 9 o'clock position. Alright, so we got our rear planet with our washer on the back of it. We have to pull up on this clutch hub a little bit so we can get our snap ring in there. This is our snap ring. There we go. Put our 4-tab washer on top. Put our sun shell on. This bearing, you can go right there, just like that. There's bearing style and washer style of the planets, and ours is a bearing style. Bearings you can go on there. had been a washer, the washer would have went there. We got our ring gear. We got this 3-tab washer. Some of these are plastic, you can put the metal one in. The tabs got to line up with those tabs on there. Forward drum, make sure our bearing's still on the back or back there. Make sure our bearing's still on the front. And all the way down. Our direct drum. Take your input shaft. Put it in your drum, turn and shake, and your direct drum will fall in. Put our band in. One end's going to go on this anchor over here. The other end's going to sit right down in here for our servo to push against. Intermediates, we got the thick pressure plate. There are different stack ups for this. Different thicknesses of steels and pressure plates and all that stuff, depending on what you got. There's just too many to go through. It's going to have to make sure that your clearances come out right. I'll put the clearances in the description. This one has an opening that goes at 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock. Our 2 bolt holes go down at 6 o'clock position. I think we're quite down. Start my 2 center support bolts. They got holes in them. Make sure I can start them. If I can't, we're not down. And we're not down. Yeah, I think what happened was when I picked up on that forward drum, it unloaded that washer. That's usually what happens. Get that back on there. And be careful when you pick up on that drum. It usually picks the washer right back up with it. here in a second. Yeah, that sounds more like it. Yeah, we're down that time. All right. Yeah, there's little feet on here. You can find a position where all three of them are in an area where they're not pushing on something in one of these areas, you know, like in here. And we're gonna put this in. We're gonna make sure our feed hole is down at the bottom. It's gonna go right up in here. Once we get that down, look, our feed hole is over here. It needs to be over here. We're just going to turn that so it's pretty much lined up. I'm going to take our snap ring. Our opening is going to be at the 6 o'clock position. I put this hooked in over here so I can get a snap ring screwdriver underneath it and pry it up if I need to. Alright, we're just going to start it on there. And put our tool in. Put that on top. Put our push bar in, start our bolts in the pump holes. You can screw them all the way down if you want to. You don't really need to. I just get them started. There's enough threads that they can take the stress of pushing against them. My tool has 3/4 here, so I use a wrench. I don't use an impact. Let's tighten that down to where it bottoms out. Once it's bottomed out, I back it off just a little bit so I can get in here and turn the support to where it's lined up exactly where it needs to be. Start my bolt. And I push it the rest of the way down. Put my snap ring in. And I tighten up my center support. You don't want to get too radical with that either, because it'll cave your case in the center. It'll make it cross leak right in this area. And we'll just loosen this off. Pick up the entire overdrive assembly, keeping a firm grip on the planet ring gear, because if you don't, it's going to fall out. Just set it on there, twist it around until it falls in. Now, this is the first kit I've had that. I had clutches that look like this. You see the wide opening and more narrow opening. And the dimple goes up. Opening goes at the 6 o'clock position again. Alright, lots of lube on your case and on your pump O-ring. Make sure our bearing and our washer's still on there. And the filter inlet's going to go at the 6 o'clock. Sometimes the pump washers don't come off this easy, and usually these are probably coming off easy because he's already, or some, oh, I keep saying he, whoever did this replaced these. I'll not always replace them. If they look in good shape, I'll go ahead and reuse them, but otherwise, if they don't want to come off, you just get you a pair of pliers, and of course you're going to be starting up here. You may have to crush it a little bit so the threads will grab it, and then if you got an impact, you just buzz it right off. If not, you know, you're using a ratchet or a wrench, and they'll come off. Alright, even with all the grease, bearing fell off, and she broke it in. Put our input shaft in. As long as we turn free, there we go. We're done there. We'll go here. Alright. Hopefully we'll get a good enough overview of everything. The early ones, you'll see that there's a snap ring groove in here. The early ones had a different style. They had this spring on here. They had a loose spring that fit in there, and then your servo. Then there was a plate, and then there was a snap ring that fit on top, and the plate was kind of had a cutout. It wasn't a full circle. It went about that far. And then the snap ring was on top. You get this one, you just throw all that stuff away. Alright, depending, there's a lot to go through, and I'm probably going to have to make a diagram, and I'll put this all at the end. But different check ball locations. The way you tell is you got numbers back here and you got these cutouts. This is going to tell you what plate this goes to, and it's going to tell you what gaskets you need to use. Now the real early 89s, I've never seen one, had 14 check balls. Like I said, I've never seen one before. I'll try to fill out as best as I can a diagram of where they all go. And this one here is 88 model. It's going to take, let me see, we do have 2 holes back here, so it's going to take it, wait, I'm thinking of the wrong spot. 2 holes right here, so it will take a check ball here. So we're going to have 9 check balls in here. And they're going to go, one's right up here, one right here, one right there, one right there, right there, right there, right there, right there, and right here. And we got this spring, and it goes back here. And then this, what you get in the SureCure kit, sits on top. And you're going to get rid of that steel ball that was there. They give you a spring for that valve. That forward engagement valve that we didn't put in the valve body, that spring goes there. Also in your SureCure kit, I forgot to show this to you because I didn't put it in because it already had one. Somebody's already done it. And it's got this one-piece case bushing that takes the place of the 2 bushings. And it says grooves to the front. That's you got 3 grooves. Those go to the front. The single groove goes to the back. This hole lines up with that lube hole in the case. Make sure it's not blocking any portion of it at all. Yeah, you got the tall rubber and the short rubber, and they're angled to fit that center support up here. The short one, they say you got to measure the pocket, and if it measures so and so, then you got to cut this off. I just cut it off. Just cut it off, it don't matter. Then you got the tall and the short of these. Of course, the tall one goes with the tall one, the short one goes with the short one. Spring goes over the end of it. That's going to fit down the side of it. We're going to put this in the case first. This one, this little tab lines up with this hole right here. And lube it up. And the tall one with the tall. Just push it in. And then we're going to find where that tab was. We're going to line it up with that spot. There we go. And some have a little filter that goes here. You can leave it out if you want to. It's going to go right here. We got to get our gasket on there because it's going to get in the way. Transtech kit gave me check ball locations, and it doesn't say anything about copyright on them, so I'm going to show that to you. But I'm going to show you what pressure plates go with which ones. And I'm going to have to write that out, so I'm going to put that at the end of the video. You get the Trans-Tech kit, you get the thick gaskets. I recommend that's what you get. The Toledo kit has real thin gaskets, and if your case has any warpage at all to it, those thin gaskets ain't going to do you crap. So get the thick gaskets and put them on there. Mine takes the yellow stripe because of the year model it is. So get this down there somewhat so it's not blocking the gasket. Got this little filter that goes up here. You can put it in, you can leave it off, it doesn't really matter. It's got these two little tabs that got a lock in there, and then you spin it so it doesn't come out. Depending on which gasket year you have, like this one come with plain and the yellow, and it tells you how to determine which one's what. '89's no color stripe, and 90 and up is yellow, which this guy may have the wrong gaskets on it. Let me find out which one I got. Somebody may have changed valve bodies on me. As long as you use the whole setup, you're okay. You got 2 half moons in a square, and it says it's 90 through 95. So somebody has changed this, because this is supposed to be an 88 model truck. It can't be an 88 model truck. It came out in 89. This is a 94, so we're okay. I don't know where I got 88 model. Oh, I know where I got 88 model. I got a 700 in here. It's an 88 model. Good thing I didn't screw myself up here. Okay, so 90 and up, yellow stripes, and that's what I got. Our rear plate back here has 3 8mm and the word up. These 3/8. And up to 95, they had 4 slots back here. 96, they eliminated that. So if you need to replace this accumulator body, make sure it matches the year, and you know, somebody may have replaced the whole thing, so make sure that yours matches the plate that you have and the year that it needs to be and what came off of there. Because if you replace this with one that, if you put this on one that this is blocked off or it's cast over like that, you're going to have probably no reverse or slipping reverse. We got 2 10s nuts, one on each corner. Alright, we got these bolts with the shoulder on them. This little space right here. 2 of them are shorter than the rest of them. That one right there. Alright, now where are you? And that one right there, and those go on this other body. The rest of these go on the short spots for the valve body. And we have to change this lever seal before I go too much further. And we'll show you how we do that. Sometimes I can get in there with 2 pocket screwdrivers and I can pull this little pin up. Just like that. The times where that won't work, I got a video and a trick for E4ODs where I use a drill bit to get that out, so if you need to, you can watch that. .13/16 on that. Since this one doesn't have a linkage out here on the end of it that you can't take off, you could just take a pocket screwdriver and I've been able to pop them out, but you can't always do that, so it's just some options for you. And got this baby heel bar, just get in there and pop it out. Get in behind the seal and pry it out. Your linkage seal goes in just like that. Get you some lube on it. Usually I'll take this out to the wire wheel and I'll buzz this off. Now what makes these things hard to get out, these pins, a lot of times people will shove them in there way the hell in there. You just need to go till it's even with the pan rail. You don't need to go any further than that. Got this part of the valve body.
Hey Tom.
Yep.
Just put that CVT back together so I can do a pressure test. I'm gonna get a gauge from McKinney, and at that point I'm just gonna let Mike know I can't get the.
Alright. Make sure your manual valve's on. You got 2 check balls here, one there and one there. And you got this plate, this part of the valve body. Those 2 short ones go here and here. The rest of these go here. The long ones go up here. Then on your solenoid assembly, I'm going to have to take you out there to the truck to show you. It's been a long time since I had one in here that this actually comes off, and I had a hell of a time getting it off so I could show it to you. I've talked about it in some videos, but I've never had one I could show. So I took it off so that you can see what it looks like on the vehicle. But sometimes there's on these earlier ones, there's a little sleeve that goes in here that can get stuck to the wiring harness. So I'm going to take you out there and show you what it looks like. Okay, here's the wiring harness, and right up inside there there's that little sleeve. And a lot of times it won't be easy to see because it's going to be dirty as hell, and you're not going to see it. And what happens is it'll keep you from plugging that harness all the way back in if it doesn't slide in properly. So you might end up with an EPC code, might end up with a solenoid code, you might end up with every solenoid code that there is. So just keep that in mind. You need to look for that, make sure it's not on there. Alright, here's that piece. And it just goes in the top right there. Make sure it's shoved all the way down. And down inside there, there's a little seal that goes inside there. You make sure it's all the way up in its groove. This can also keep you from getting your harness plugged in. Actually, what I'm probably going to do, alright, and we're all the way in. There we go. You got these 30 torques that go on the solenoid assembly. 10 millimeters. It goes here, here, and here. Be very gentle with these. Work from the center out. You know, get overzealous with these. Our tins. Dirty Torques. Filter. Of course, there's different ones for two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. This is shorter for the two-wheel drive. These pans that have these little dimples on them have to have a cork gasket or a paper gasket. The smooth pins have a reusable rubber gasket. Some of your kits, if you buy the one with the gasket in it, you can get the rubber gasket. But you can't put that rubber gasket on this style pan. Now if you want to swap it out to the other style pan, you can put it on there. Alright, 4x4, you got these two longer ones that go in the very back. With this bracket that goes up in the front corner over here. If this had been a two-wheel drive, the rest of these are 13s, so they're all the same size. If this had been a two-wheel drive, the two that go down on the bottom would have been shorter than the rest of these. This would be your speedometer O-ring if you had one. It's your filler tube O-ring. If you want to buy the tool to do the neutral switch, here it is. It's part number, it's OTC number 307-261. So you'd put it in neutral. You got these two tabs here. This tab right here. You got the two tabs here, tab up here. What you do is put it in neutral. Then you would line that up, tighten it down, then pull this tool off. Well, there's another way that you can do it. If you look, you don't need the tool. You look right there, there's a line that says neutral, and there's a line right below it. Just line the two lines up. And then here's the 2 bolts for that. Other than that, we're done. Alright, there's a ton of information here. This is your check ball functions, what their numbers are, what they do, and there's no copyright deal on here, so I assume I'm okay in posting this. Anybody that buys a Transtech kit is going to get this, so I don't see that there's that big of a deal. There's your early and your late, 89. '93, '95, and then 96. Here's your other auxiliary valve body. And this is your separator plate. These are the 3 holes that I'm having you be concerned with here. These are your notches that come on the plate. So see this one here, triangle, half moon, triangle. So we got triangle, half moon, triangle. It uses the yellow gaskets. So this is the shapes of the plates and what gaskets that they use. Hopefully the glare is not too bad. And hopefully it's all good and in there. Here's the info on the holes in the plate to tell which one uses which gaskets. And you can see right here that we got 3 V's and we got 3 V's. Now this one uses green gaskets. This one uses light blue with white gaskets. And the way that you're going to tell is through these holes right here. So hopefully this gets you everything that you need to know. I'll post the clutch clearances in the description. And I guess we're done with this one.